Hi golfers, welcome to this week's newsletter. I hope you're surviving the cold winter lockdown. And with that in mind, I thought the best thing this week, I haven't given you a couple of tips on maybe strengthening your golf swing or parts of it with the exercises we did and the stretching. This week I thought we'd bring it back to more of a gentle part of the game, which is obviously the putting, which requires a lot of feel and touch. And I've got two simple quick tips for you. One's going to help you very simply with a better strike on the ball and make a much better roll, get that ball rolling quicker and smoother. And the second one's a very simple one, working on how you control the distance of your putt each time. Okay, so I'm working on a wooden floor here, so I'm only going to really show you the basics of what I'm talking about here. But just to give you an idea, if you have got a sort of not too thick a carpet pile, you can work on it, or if you've got a putting mat. Unfortunately, I haven't got a putting mat here at the moment, but if you've got a putting mat, even better. That allows you to obviously get a realistic feel of distance control related to the golf course for when we get back. Okay, so what I've done here simply, as you can hopefully see, I've got a couple of 2p pieces. It's an oldie but goodie, this one. You can use a pound coin, a couple of 2p pieces, a couple of 10p pieces, basically just trying to pop the ball off the ground by about 1/4 to 1/2 centimetre, and then simply place the ball back down on top of those where you're aiming. I'm going to stand up now and obviously show you what I mean here. And obviously, hopefully you can see the ball is sitting proud of the floor there. And the idea being, like in all good putting strokes, is as we come through into impact, we don't want to be hitting down like an iron shot, for example. We want to be, if anything, travelling parallel, or if anything, slightly up as we go through the impact, which just helps get that ball rolling as quick as possible. If you can get your ball rolling smoothly under a couple of feet of distance gained, then that's a really, really good objective. Okay, so here we go. You can obviously guess what we're going to do. I'm going to set myself up. I've got my alignment aid. I'm aiming straight down the tile here, trying to hit a straight putt. Setting myself up in my position and my posture. Checking my alignment. And then as I strike through the impact, I'm just going to try and make sure I don't move the coins. Yeah, I'm going to try and hit the ball off the top of the coins. And there we go. Simple as that. It is easy, unless you've obviously got a tendency to hit down on the putts, which quite a few of you have, I'm sure. It's amazing. It's a bit like practicing your driving, hitting off a high tee peg. It just naturally alters your angle of attack without having to think too much about the actual stroke itself. So try that and you'll be amazed, especially if you've got a realistic putting mat, you'll be amazed at how well that gets the ball rolling on it and how well you strike it right out the meat of the putter. Okay, so on to tip 2. So tip 2, still using the coins. So we're going to try and still work, whilst we work on this next tip, we're still going to work on that slight upward strike off the top of the coins. It's a bit of a pain setting it up every time, but well worth it, at least for maybe 25% of your practice putting shots that you hit. And then we're going to try and combine it with this one here, which is more based on distance control, this one. So we're going to get obviously a good strike, we're going to get a good roll, which is 50% plus of distance control, because without those two, your ball's going to come off the club face at different speeds if you're striking it all over the face. And secondly, if it's skipping about, that's obviously going to change the distance your ball goes each time if it's not rolling very purely along the top of the grass. Obviously, the quality of the grass that you're putting on, the greens that you're putting on will make a huge difference as well, but we're taking that for granted, that they are of a reasonable consistency. So, I see so many people when working on their putting strokes, their tendency is for their tempo to change. And what I mean by that is basically, one time, for example, someone could be hitting the same length putt, maybe a 10 or 15 foot putt, and the pace might be like this. And the next one like this. Yeah, so you can see the variation in the pace of the stroke. If the pace of the stroke changes and the length of the stroke is similar, with a similar quality of strike on each, the ball will have to go different distances. If the tempo stays the same, let's say 1, 2, 1, 2, and the length of the stroke either side of the ball becomes greater or shorter, you can then control the distance the ball's going to go. Might sound simple, but be amazed at how many people don't get this right, and causes them difference in distance control every green they get to. And then therefore you're standing over 3, 4, 5 footers all day long because you haven't guessed that pace right from around about 15 or 20 feet, which is where we tend to see ourselves mostly on the green in regulation, hopefully, or maybe where we've chipped onto or pitched onto from just short of the green. Okay, so here we go. We're going to try and work on number 1, approximately an even length stroke either side of the ball. Okay, now we don't want to get too woodeny over this. We want to keep that, you know, as a rough idea in your mind. We don't want to be sort of measuring out in the back of our mind, you're right, you know, 6, 8, 10 inches, right now through 10 inches. We need to keep the flow of the stroke just as importantly. So if I was going to be hitting a 20-foot putt here, I'd be thinking approximately I need to go back to here, through to here. Back to here, through to here. Keeping that tempo as important as the length of the stroke. So then we can walk in, we can start to put tip 1 into this as well. So we're going to try and strike the ball off the top of the coins. We're going to take that putter back, the required distance. We're going to hit up on the ball to get that good roll and miss the coins. And we're going to make sure we continue through the same distance on the way through. Okay, so I've got a really good strike on the ball. Obviously the roll is not brilliant on my wooden floor. My tempo remained hopefully pretty close to that of my practice stroke. And if you've got a putting mat or a reasonable bit of short pile carpet, you should be able to start to control your distance within an inch over 15, 20 foot quite easily. Because if the putter's the same, the ball quality's the same, we're striking it nicely with a good roll, but most importantly, the length of the stroke and the tempo of the stroke remains the same. The ball's going to have to go the same distance. Okay, so give that a go. It's never great putting inside, getting a real buzz out of it, but I can tell you that if you can work on just simple things like your tempo and length of stroke within your stroke, as well as a little bit of a tip on the strike there and the roll, when you get back out on the golf course or on the putting green next up on the course, you will start to at least get the ball closer, and hopefully from that 5 foot range, because you're rolling it better and striking it better, the ball will get in the hole just a little bit more often for you. Or if you do miss the hole, we're not going to have much distance left to tap in the next one. Okay, so a couple of tips. I hope you put them to good use, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Waiting for Boris to give us some sort of date, possibly to come back on, and we can get you up and running. Okay, take care, see you soon.